Parliament, we've heard Keir Starmer saying that he doesn't believe where human change can come from the air. He's been appearing to be questioning the objectives of it, wondering what Donald Trump wants to achieve and what might happen next. Well, in terms of the Britons, well, we certainly know what's happening next here. This evening, in a few hours' time, we're going to have a British Type 45 destroyer heading from Portsmouth towards Cyprus. That in response to drone activity and an attack there. It's carrying still some Wildcat helicopters on board, equipped with special missiles to target drones. And pairing that with the air defense capabilities of this destroyer, they're saying it is the perfect vessel for being in Cyprus at this particular time.
Richard Caseford.
March the 3rd, 2026. We're looking at current pricing of the stock markets at 10:20 a.m. Central Time. The Dow has dropped 1,200 points. Rebounded somewhat, it's still minus 909. The Dow, 113 S&P, and 400 on the NASDAQ. But it says this is happening as oil surges, bond yields climb in response to the deepening Iran conflict. It looks like it's taking on a few different aspects than what they initially calculated as far as timelines and the ability for Iran to respond. As of the last report I saw, 11 of Iranian ships had been taken out of commission. That was their major fleet. Now, I'm sure they're smaller boats, and I know that some subs were hit. But so we don't know the full thing on that. But what they have done now is technically closed the straits. They had sent out a warning since maybe a day before this event started, and that really did close the straits. But now they have formally closed them and say any ship crossing through there will be set ablaze. They're pretty much verbatim quote on this thing. So it's
not
now
good.
going to deepen, the oil crisis. Also,
It's
we
not
get
good.
liquid natural gas. Getting
That's not good. All right, everybody. 3 o'clock. I've been, making my phone calls, and I'm not like I used to be, short phone calls. So, sorry, I'm on a little bit late. The Dow is down less than it was, but it's down 275. NASDAQ down 194. S&P down 50. I continue to think these markets are going to have this skyward push at some point, so I wouldn't be shaken out. But there's some things to consider. There's one thing to consider that I haven't heard anywhere, and it's what I see. I think the United States is not going to be allowed to rebuild the bases that Iran has destroyed in the Middle East, which means we're out of the Middle East. I think Iran does have an almost inexhaustible supply of missiles. It's a huge country. It's the size of a subcontinent. And Israel is going to run out. The United States, we got what's on those ships. And I don't think that's going to last forever. So when we leave, when we make whatever deal to just limp away, who's going to build back the bases? We're not going to be able to. We're not going to build back our airports and our ports and uh, I don't know about our embassies, but our other facilities, radar and all that, without being shot at. They're not gonna allow it. And China, I think China will come rebuild security in the Middle East with cooperation with Russia. And they may not get along. It's not like they're best buddies. And I think like that, you're going to see the replacement of basically the deal that King Abdul Aziz made with Roosevelt. It's gone. It's gone. And all you need is the young king. All he has to do is say, you know what? We're going to Russia for our weapons, China for our weapons, India for our soldiers, and maybe China for the Navy. And we're pricing oil in renminbi, or however you say it, in the yuan. It's not a pretty picture for all of us. It means the United States is not going to be able to project its power, control the decline of the dollar. It's not exciting. That's how I see it. Now, that the positive side is, Trump has some weaponry we haven't heard of, and he knows what he's doing. And everyone gathers around him to support this unprovoked slaughter of schoolgirls and civilians. They were in the middle of negotiations, and they were attacked. No one's going to trust us anymore. Putin's not going to trust us. No one. We are now aligned with Israel. That's our sole ally in the world. No one else is going to, and they don't trust us. The Israelis, they're using us. They don't trust us. Netanyahu is a user. But anyway, that's how I see it. I think hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully there's a way of bringing Iran to not shoot at us, and we can rebuild our bases and we can rebuild our alignment. But I just don't see it. I think Dubai is going to be in trouble. I think Israel's lucky if it's even a country by the time Iran's done. It doesn't look like Iran is attacking on purpose anyway, residential areas, but they have attacked one airport, and I'd be surprised if Israel is a country. But at least when we go down, we're going to be able to say, you can't call us anti-Semitic. That's one thing we're going to be able to say as our lifestyle changes. So what does this mean for all of us? It's all the more important that we have to build ourselves as independent financial islands in the panic and the adjustment that's going to go on in the world. And luckily, we've got a head start. We've got exposure to AI. It's more specific than that, of course. And we will have deal flow in AI. I think AI is going to allow a lot of us to live better than others. Many of you, I'm shocked that my recommendation had so much carry, but a lot of you have purchased silver. One good guy that I really wanted to buy silver, his money never came in time. So the dilemma is silver still a buy? And my answer is yes. Now, silver will be more volatile by definition. There's more to lose on the downside in short-term sell-offs. But silver, gold, platinum, palladium, uh, anything, copper, iron, um, all of it is going to be more valuable as the dollar spirals downward. Although dollar is strong right now, I guess a lot of the wealth of the Middle East might be transferring into dollar assets. Over the longer term, this isn't good for the United States. Now, I will say Trump has surprised more than once with his ability to have a successful conclusion. And I wouldn't put it past this situation. It might be, at the end of the day, be okay. But the hatred and the anger for killing 100 schoolgirls, that's not going to go away. They don't see us as freedom fighters or glorious Democrats. They see us as terrorists. And we aligned ourselves with a terrorist country. And we did that by choice. We, along with Israel, and there's no way to look at it any other way, helped kill up to 400,000 or 500,000 Palestinians. It's not going to be forgotten. It's not going to be forgotten. So we chose our side, and we're the Germany. We are, well, I would say Israel's the Germany of this century, and we decided to be the Axis. We decided to be Austria-Hungary, that goes along with it. It's some of the most idiotic decision making I've ever seen, and it makes you realize how world wars start and how groupthink. I'm not a big fan of groupthink, and I'm not a big fan of going along with the crowd. These ideas that are drilled in our heads by the media, by the movies, by the press for years, they're not true. Some of it is, though. That's how it gets hold. But then it's not hyperbole to say that this could escalate into nuclear war. Benjamin Netanyahu will not hesitate to launch. They have something like 100 or 200 or 300 nuclear weapons. Of course, that's okay. They're not part of any arms control agreements. That's all right. I guess because they're a democracy. I guess because they're a religious supremacist colonial state, mostly white. It's all okay. I don't know why. Why is it okay? Why do they get a pass? But everyone, it's all okay. You can't criticize it. Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. And as far as I know, wasn't planning on it. But I tell you, every country now is going to be like Korea. The only way to keep the United States from bombing is to have nuclear weapons. It's brilliant. It's collective strategy, I'm so unimpressed by it. But anyway, we've just got to make our decisions with the world to come. And if the Straits of Hormuz are indeed closed, and that I suppose is not for sure, and Trump might have other weapons like directed energy or sound. He might have more in his quiver, so to speak. But I don't think Iran's going to be fooled again by halting its attacks. And I don't think Israel can protect itself from those weapons. So it's going to get really bad. And in that case, I would expect Benjamin to launch nuclear weapons at Iran. And then what happens? Do the Russians launch back? Do cooler heads prevail? I don't know, guys. It's really scary. But let's not go down that route. I didn't expect to talk about all that, but to me it's really frightening. Railtown is down almost half a penny, 32.7. Finger is down almost 4 cents at 125.2. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down. HLP is 105. GDC is down 16 at 348. Hey, they had a press release, said it was worth $22. Nixie is 54 cents. It's in the green. It's up a penny. And that's 314 here. I watched some of the Bill Clinton interrogatory, if that's how you use that word. That guy is smooth. he is really good, really good. I bet he'd get elected again, even though he's elderly. All right. There's one idea I wanted to talk with you about, but I didn't copy it. And I'm not sure I'm going to have enough time, so I'll have to save it for tomorrow. It's not an action item immediately. So just looking at Yahoo Finance, stocks slide amid fresh war worries. A fresh wave of Israeli-led attacks stoked new fears about the breadth. Your mouthwash ain't cutting it. Of the conflict as oil surged again. Gold tumbles amid broader market sell-off as dollar rises. Now, there, in a nutshell, is something that you have to remember for when, after we have this big, glorious blow-off top rally, if we do, by the way, but that'll be the clue. If that happens, what comes next is a collapse. And just watch what happens. Your gold, your silver, a lot of assets, they'll all go down too. So if you're in a position that you can have dollars or short-term treasuries, you might find that you can, in that panic, you may be able to pick up things at nice prices. The sell-off doesn't come because all of a sudden gold is unattractive. Partly it's short selling. You got to admit that. They just glom on. But people need cash. They need to get the heck out of Dodge. You know, they're flying out of Dubai for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 tickets. And they ain't coming back. Not if they're married. Their wives aren't coming back. Um, all right, no real headlines to go over on Yahoo. Let me just check the Daily Hate. See, here's the news. This is the important thing. Who is Elizabeth Hasselbeck? I have no idea. Elizabeth Hasselbeck declares war on Megyn Kelly live. Megyn Kelly fires back. You're telling me the media, these are journalists? Why? You know, and I'm going to say something sexist, but now I see why they had rooms for, after dinner, the men went in one room, women went in the other. Why the hell do you have to listen to this? Of course, men argue too. But how is that the top headline? Trump responds to outrage. Israel pushed him into war as U.S. announces evacuations for Americans. Oh, I see. So he responds to the outrage. The idea is outrageous that Israel pushed him into war. Yeah. I'm sure it was Miriam Adelson. Oh, that's scary. Massive blaze breaks out at U.S. consulate in Dubai. Oh, God, guys, this isn't good. Playboy model reveals details of wonderful 3-day fling with Trump. Anything to distract us. There was the third guy that died, and now John Hammond is dead. So that's 4. I thought they came in 3s. All right, let's go down this because there are earnings to show you for Railtown. Doesn't really change anything, but it's something to go over, the management discussion. Hi, Keith. Hello, William. Keith says, Pat M says, good afternoon, William. Good afternoon to you, Jack Hamilton. Good afternoon, sir. Hope everyone's well. Everybody's well. Eddie Eagle, Fast Eddie, how do you do? Now you're gonna. Because you're the man that went and named me Sue. Scott, Iran is making even more enemies in the area by bombing other sovereign countries. Yeah, I think you may be right about that, Scott. But I guess it's going to come down to who runs out of missiles first. We don't have that many. We just don't have that many. And our ships, after they shoot, I don't know the number. I think on a destroyer there's 80 missiles, 90 missiles. After they shoot them, they got to go back to port and reload. Well, where are they going to go? Where are the extra missiles? I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Iran's not well loved, and not everywhere. I think I think over the last 40, 50 years, Iran has not started a war with a neighbor or tried to. Well, you can't say that about Israel. Of course, they had the Iran-Iraq war, which I don't frankly remember who started it. But it's, I've shown it to you that showed it before others talked about it, but that Wesley Clark interview, this is the last country on that Wolfowitz, the new American century, Newland list, the Pentagon list of 20 years ago. 7 countries. We're going to go spread democracy like mayonnaise. I don't know. I don't know. I agree with you, though, Scott. I think Iran, I don't think the Saudis are going to look favorably on it, or the UAE, or Qatar, or Bahrain, Kuwait. I think you're right about that. But do those countries have anything to attack back with right now? I don't know. And I already said what I'm worried about. I just think once our presence is obliterated in the Middle East, we have to go back and build it while we're not shot at. We have to rebuild landing strips and ports and fueling depots. Are they going to let us? I just think everything's sped up, and we might see Russia, China, Iran nexus now. And I don't think it had to be that way. I really don't. I think we could have been friends with Russia, but Hillary lost an election. And so she made up Russia, Russia, Russia. But, she's a piece of work. She doesn't care who she destroys for her own benefit. But, you have to give it to Bill. He loves her. He loves her. He stayed together with her, defends her. Joe Marty snagged 420 more shares of RT. Good for you. I'm writing that down. We're at about 18,065,000. But every little bit helps. 420 added. Joe Marty. Hey, Ricky. How are you? Ricky says, hello, William and all. Jack Hamilton picked up some change, added 63. I love it. You're going to catch up with Donna. You're on your way to catch up with Donna. Jack Hamilton. It's the slowest catch up I've ever seen. But you're doing it. Richard K. At this rate, Iran will have to run their country with AI. Not enough officials left. I shouldn't laugh, but I think that has a little bit of humor to it. They have a big population. I think they're approaching 100 million people, and they're mostly young and they're well educated. Iran's different than the rest of the Middle East. It has its borders and boundaries largely over centuries. What was it? The Sykes-Picot line that divided up the Middle East the way it is. I'm not sure those lines are going to last much longer either. On the other hand, guys and girls, this could be the line in the sand. The banks want to preserve the Western financial system. The British Empire and the city want to preserve the status of wealth based on uh, the remnants of the British Empire, but it's the financial clause. And they want the collateral, or we lose. And there's a lot of strengths the United States has, and the West has, the banks have, that can get us through. But man, it's scary. I don't know if we're prepared for in the near term, if we're prepared for the hypersonic missiles of Russia and China and Iran. I'm not sure we are. But then in the longer term, I'm not sure we're prepared when MBS takes over and he announces to the world that we're Saudi, the kingdom, is no longer solely, and they're already changing it quietly, but they're no longer accepting dollars for oil. Whew. We'll be migrating to Mexico. No, I'm just kidding. T. Alex. Hi, William and Railtown crew. Hi, T. Alex. T. Alex added some more. Good for you. $250 for, wow, that's a huge position. It's a huge, huge position. Good for you, T. Alex. Padam reporting no injuries at the consulate in Dubai. Yeah, I think everybody's evacuated. And those hotels they hit, apparently they were trying to get the personnel who had left the bases and thought they were safe in the hotels. The whole thing, it makes your stomach when you think about it. I personally don't see a good side to it at all. But, on the other hand, Trump did say that he thought they were going to come try to get him first. So who knows? I don't know what the background information is. Just get ready for a lot of change. And when it comes, just know that your country is not anti-Semitic, which is preposterous anyway. Is there a country on the planet who more graciously open and still welcome and love and encourage and look up to and the United States? But it wasn't enough. Nothing's ever enough. Nothing's ever enough. I had a girlfriend like that once. Nothing was enough. Dogs are never like that. Dogs are always happy. As long as you love them, they never complain. As long as things are fair, they never complain. All right, let's go through the earnings. Let's see if Ricky's purple line held. 33.4. Yep. It's holding. It's holding. I don't know why I saved this. Let me see what it is. Oh, yeah, this is Tesla and SpaceX, a web of deals. So it's very hard to see. There's XAI Holdings, which is basically SpaceX. He merged SpaceX and XAI with each other. So SpaceX integrates XAI bot, gives data to XAI, SpaceX does. That's, I guess, the big computer in the side. Valued at 1 trillion. XAI Holdings valued at 250 billion. And then Tesla invests 2 billion for an undisclosed stake in XAI Holdings. But Tesla's worth 1.5 trillion. Tesla integrates the XAI bot, and XAI powers Optimus, which I'm not exactly sure what Optimus is. But this is the empire Musk is making. And then down below, XAI Holdings owns almost 90% of XAI, and X gives the data that it has to XAI, and then XAI rents chips from X. And it doesn't explain the link of X into XAI Holdings, but the arrow goes that way. And then XAI buys Tesla's Megapack batteries. So it's a web of deals across Musk's empire. And it all, I guess the argument is, it all props up XAI. And some of the links are sales contracts. I don't know, it's interesting. Maybe it's its own circular financing. I think they're going to do just fine. All right, let's see what I want to show you. All right, I'm going to start here. It's kind of boring stuff, but we should go through it. This is their earnings report. And I guess I mean, there's not much to it. I did get one thing right. Not that it was hard to do. All right, here. This is management's discussion and analysis of financial position and result of operations for the period ending last year. That's their first quarter. This management discussion and analysis, MD&A, not to be confused with MA, or for that matter with MDs, has been prepared by management as of March 2nd, and shows the financial results, etc., ended December 31, 25. And it should be read in conjunction with the financial statements. And then they have that big, everything in here could be wrong statement. It's all the forward-looking statements. Goes on and on. All right. Well, I guess I cut off a paragraph there, but it brings out the risks that long-term goals. They depend on key personnel, key officers, forward-looking statements. Uh, you know, everything could be wrong tomorrow. This is as of yesterday. They also have Tony the Turtle's important grab bag. There's a going concern clause in their financial statements that says, as of the end of the year, the company is not able to finance day-to-day activities through operations. The company is in the business of building AI developer tools and agentic framework. That by its nature involves a high degree of risk. There can be no assurances that the company's business and strategy will enable it to become profitable or sustain profitability in future periods. And it goes on and on like this. To Tony, this is a great breakthrough. This is like, oh my gosh. They write this in every bloody uh, prospectus and earnings report for startups and growing companies. It's not to ridicule it. You got to be aware of it, but it's just boilerplate. The company was incorporated under the Corporations Act on May 11th, 2011. And was classified as a capital pool company on the TS Venture Exchange. The company did not complete its IPO at that time, thank God, maintained its reporting issuer status, and was no longer classified as a capital pool company. On August 15, 2019, the company changed its name to Railtown AI Technologies, Inc. On November 1, 2019, the company entered into a technology transfer agreement, acquiring from certain vendors the rights to software technology, the development and subsequent commercialization of which became the company's ongoing business. The company has two wholly owned businesses, Railtown AI Tool Corporation, a company incorporated under the Business Corporations Act, BC, on September 23rd, 2024, and AI Partnerships Corp., a company amalgamated under the Canada Business Corporations Act of October 1, 2025, AIP. AIP was created through the amalgamation of AI Partnerships Corp., a company incorporated. Well, I lost it. I cut off the end. So anyway, let's keep going. We all know what AIP is. So, here it is up here. Created under the Canadian Business, here it is, the Canadian Business Corporations Act on April 30, 2020. It's right up here. And 1736640 Canada, Inc., a company incorporated under the Canadian Business Corporations Act on October 1. That might be that other company that I can almost remember the name of, began with a D, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. That was the amalgamation. The head office is in British Columbia, and Railtown provides the frameworks, orchestration, and observability required to build scalable and reliable enterprise-grade agents and agent solutions as organizations increasingly rely on large language models and AI agents to perform complex tasks. Railtown bridges the critical gap between model capability and real world execution. The company's platform empowers development teams to build intelligent agents that are explainable, observable, cost controlled, and production ready, delivering trust, performance, and accountability at scale. Railtown's platform is designed with three interacting products: Rail Tracks, which enables construction of the agent; Rail Engine, which ingests data; and Conductor, which provides observability of the agent. Together, these technologies form a complete enterprise-grade stack for agentic AI development. That's Railtown. The next part is AIP. AIP has created an affiliate network comprising over 180 AI companies delivering solutions across a broad spectrum of industries, including, we know all this, but healthcare, manufacturing, fintech, telecommunications. The network brings together innovators, solution providers, and niche specialists, creating a vibrant ecosystem of AI expertise and applied technology. Railtown's acquisition of AIP allows the company to extend the reach and utility of Railtown's core agentic AI platform. By integrating Railtown's stack with AIP's affiliate network, AIP is expected to become a launchpad for an agent publishing marketplace, enabling network members to build and deploy agentic AI solutions faster, leveraging Railtown's ADK, Railtracks, ingestion engine, Rail Engine, and observability platform Conductor. Reach new customers through a centralized marketplace, connecting AI solutions to enterprises that require pre-vetted production-ready agents. Monetize AI innovations efficiently, turning proprietary models, workflows, or connectors into deployable agent projects. Final one. Collaborate across industries, combining domain-specific knowledge with advanced AI orchestration to deliver sophisticated multi-agent solutions. This synergistic ecosystem permits the company to both provide the technology infrastructure and, through AIP, provide the expertise and marketplace reach, accelerating the adoption of agentic AI solutions across multiple verticals. Okay, so management's discussion continues with liquidity and capital resources. At the end of last year, the company had working capital of $500,000. I guess this means versus a deficit at the end of the year in September. So it went to the positive. That would have come from warrants. So I guess that's it. Yeah, I mean, that kept them away from the wolves. During the period of December 31, 25, the company had the following cash flows. Cash used in operating activities, so they spent $800,000. Cash used in investing opportunities of 100,000. Cash provided by financing, which I think, oh, there it is, 500,000. And that was related to the proceeds from the exercise of warrants. So that's good. And that also, a number of shares, warrants rolled off the cap table. So that was a positive for us. We'll see that later. As such, at December 31, 25, the company had cash on hand of $517,000, which is down slightly, it looks like, from their previous year, the end of the year, which ended in September. Subsequent to the period ended December 31, 2025, the company issued 5.6 million shares in the exercise of warrants. And look at this, 5.9 million warrants expired. So that's positive. That was anti-dilutive, clearly. And then down here, they issued over 11 million units. This is to the financing, and that that we know about, and that those shares, 11 million, also had half a warrant. So it's I don't know, call it 16 million shares, but you lost 6 million here. So it's good. That's good. And I think you'll see other warrants didn't get exercised as well. So the acquisition of AIP finally occurred on November 26, 2025. They issued fewer shares, much to the chagrin of the shorting colluders, for a value of almost $23 million, pursuant to the amalgamation agreement. And anyway, they have this very weak-ass holdback of shares to create performance. I think it's just saving face, all part of a negotiation. I'm going to skip it. All the escrow shares, it doesn't matter. So anyway, the acquisition, the consideration paid and the allocation of the consideration are as follows. The share capital they paid was $22,759,000. Cash acquired was $85,000. Non-trade receivables, about $85,000. Fair value of net assets, almost $170,000 in cash. Goodwill, almost all of it, $22,500,000. I don't know how goodwill works in a case where the companies inside of it grow, but in general, this gets written off. And so that doesn't sound good, except that in my very basic understanding, I'm not an accountant, it could be that when Railtown earns $22 million, it's offset and they don't have to pay taxes on it. But don't trust me 100% on that. I always defer to what the analysts say. Goodwill is attributed to AIP's partnerships and worldwide affiliate network of software as a solution-based companies, AI as a service-based companies. They have a leased office on Hornbury Street, and luckily they have that until May of 27. No off-balance sheet agreements. The stock's going green as we're talking. Right, so I read okay, so I got to go here, I think. Finger is down 5.5 cents at 123.5. We got 8 minutes to go. Help is up a penny at 106. Railtown is up 0.0004, just barely green at 33.96, but it is holding Ricky's um, what do you call that? Diagonal support, the purple line. GDC is down 19 cents at 345. Nixie is up 0.002 at 53.2. The Dow is resuming its downward trend. It's down 430 at 48,477. NASDAQ is down 248 at 22,500. S&P is down 66 at 68.15. And I don't really see any news to comment on. All right, let's finish up this, the earnings. One thing I had to read to you. Okay. All right, this is how they're accounting for the purchase, I think, unless I'm skipping something. And this is some of their expenses and spending. I don't want to go through it all. It doesn't mean anything to me. Okay, so the quarterly information for the period October 1 to December 31, 25, their gain or loss for the period, they had a gain of 223,000. As we discussed, 517,000 in cash, current assets of almost 900,000, working capital of $500,000. The revenue a year ago was nothing. The revenue now was nothing. Here is where they put that number. During the quarter ended March 31, well, I don't want to go backwards. I don't think it doesn't really help us. They talk about all the losses. We lived it. We don't have to go back through it. Related party, they have salaries. So in 25, I guess for the quarter, yeah, during the period ended December 31, I assume it's for the quarter. Each of the top guys got 37.5 in salary, and the woman earned less. I don't know why she did, but she got 12,000. That looks like Paul's wife. And those salary figures are, in the Woodward's case, are up from last year, but they're the same for Corey and Marwan. I don't know what Jane does. I don't know if she works full-time or part-time. That's not pretty if you just look at it from an equality standpoint. Catalyst Ventures got a little bit. He's on the board. I don't know what it means, and it's not worth getting buried in it. Again, it none of this is particularly meaningful to me anyway. So this number is, though, issued and outstanding shares as of this date, and I'm going to write that down, 211,384,582. Now, I remember the last number, and I should have gotten it to show it to you, but by my memory, that last number was about 194 million. Could have been 196 million. So it went up. But remember, the previous quarter, I think about 4 or 5 million warrants didn't get exercised. And this quarter, this past, the December end quarter, about 5 million didn't, or 6 million didn't. So this number could have been bigger. In a way, the depression of the price worked in our advantage in terms of number of shares outstanding. Of course, on the other hand, when they went to raise money with the Steely Dan duo, they had to issue 3.4 million shares. If they had raised that same amount of money, or actually more than that, sorry, $3.4 million, they had to issue 11 or 12 million shares. If the stock had been $1, obviously they wouldn't have had to, but it goes both ways. So anyway, look at the options here. The options are employees, and you're going to see, unless they extend them, you're going to see cash come in March. In the United States, those would normally be extended. I think up in Canada, they can't extend it. So you might see, I don't know, 400 grand come in March. And in May, you'll see a little bit of money come in. Maybe, unless they extend them. And then here's the warrants, which I can show you more clearly on the next screen. So the February warrants are gone. And I thought there were some warrants in March, but I guess I'm wrong. I can't remember. But basically, as we already discussed, the total number of warrants which could have been exercised didn't get done. So that was anti-dilutive. But look in June, you're going to see about 750 grand in cash come in. And at the beginning, at June 21, June 27, you might see another 200, you're going to get $1 million in June coming in, roughly. So that's, I guess good to know. Then this is what they filed, the condensed consolidated statements, interim financial statements for the 3 months of December 2025, unaudited, prepared by management. That's probably why Mrs. Woodward came in. I bet she might be an accountant. December 31, 2025, we went through these assets, so we can skip through it. But they're the asset side of their table is 23,500,000, but a lot of that's goodwill. A lot of that's goodwill. They have some payables, trade and lease liabilities. They have a deficit, I guess, of all their losses of 19 million. Anyway, it's not going to matter. None of this is going to matter in I think in a few weeks. We'll see. I know all right, the market closed. Railtown closed at 33.96. Finger 123, Help 106, GDC 353, Nixie 54.37. Railtown volume on the day that I see 51,520, and the high on the day was 33.2. So, sorry, 33.2. That's what it says. So the close looks like it's higher than that high. That's good. Higher highs. All right, let's quickly go through this. Expenses, they had consulting fees. I wish I got them. Depreciation, filing fees. That's a lot of filing fees. IR, I guess Rebecca and her team, and maybe other people, get, it looks like about 20, just under 20 grand a month. Marketing, about, I don't know, 7 grand a month. Office, professional fees, salaries and benefits, 400 grand. So anyway, it all seems relatively reasonable. Operating net income, that's the one thing I called. I said, I don't think they'll make more than 250 grand. So it shows net income for the period, 223,000. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it was revenue of, I don't know how they account for that. Anyway, we've already read a lot of those numbers. This is their interim statement of changes in shareholder equity. And it right here, yeah, it was 194,386, 777,000 shares at the end of December. You can see it right here, 194,386, 194,386,776 shares. Now this is what they listed here, and it's a little more detailed. These are the warrants outstanding at the beginning of the year were 24 million, and at the end of the year 20 million. Expired warrants through last year, I guess, or is this the quarter? No, this is just the quarter. The expired warrants were 2,250,000. That's good. Anyway, here's the listing of the warrants. So you saw that, you see the Januaries, they've dropped off or been exercised. I think the top one probably dropped off. The lower one may have been exercised. And then the February warrants and the March 1 warrants have all been exercised, or not all of them. It depends. People might have not gotten it done. So all of those warrants are off the cap table. They've either been turned into cash for the company and shares for the investor, or they were allowed to expire. And there's the stock options, which we already went through. And that's it. That is it. There was one thing I didn't print out that I should show you, that when I saw it, I kind of was like, wait a minute. Is this an exaggeration? But I found out that without specificity, I don't know how much, but there's a reason for it, so I'll show it to you. It's hard to see the soldiers get hurt. It's all hard to watch, every bit of it. Let me see where I need to go to get this. Let's see if it's that. No, of course it's not. I always get it wrong, so I have to go again. Well, I know where I can find it. I know where I can find it. So yesterday they announced on a Form 9 a notice of issuance of proposed listed securities. Anyway, they announced the deal that they did on February 10th. And at that time, there were 200 million 51,248 shares outstanding. And they issued these shares. And so what was outstanding following the issuance was 211,384,582 shares. There is a fully diluted number. Maybe it's here. I'll show it to you. It worked out to 227 million shares roughly. So we've been right using 225 million. Roughly. Anyway, this chart, I wanted to show you a copy of it. It shows that there were 46 purchasers of that deal. 35 of those purchasers were in British Columbia. 2 of them were in Alberta. That's where BlackBerry guys live. And no, I'm sorry. I think they live in Ontario. So 2 of the purchasers were in Alberta. 7 were in Ontario. 1 was in the United States and 1 was in Thailand, for a total of 46 participants in that offering of $3.4 million. And my reaction was, wow, I guess those Steely Dan guys didn't really put that much money up. Well, I don't know how it breaks down, but they actually invested through multiple entities. So this chart doesn't really show how much of this round was their money, but apparently it was substantial. On the other hand, this guy from Thailand, my guess is he also lives in Puerto Rico. I don't know that, but that's my guess. British Columbia, that's probably a lot of people close to the company. Remember, when there's material non-public information outstanding that hasn't been disclosed, you cannot buy shares in the public market, but you can purchase shares in a private placement. You're allowed to do that. One, you're assumed to be accredited. Two, there's usually a restriction on the shares. I think in Canada it's 4 months. In the United States, the restriction is 6 months. So you can't act on it. And three, you're still prohibited from telling anybody material information, and you're still prohibited from acting in the public markets. So it's a way for insiders to add their position. But let me just show it to you so you see the chart. I'll try to hold it steady. I don't know if that's clear to you. I'll print it out for tomorrow, if I remember. So my first reaction was, oh my gosh, those guys didn't really buy that much. But they did. I don't know what it breaks out to, but I would guess they're clearly the majority purchasers here. And I would further guess that this was done by Canaccord Genuity. And I warned you that a year ago. I said that they're going to do a deal. That's their payout. They get 500,000 warrants for doing this. And that wasn't a hard sale on their part. No, sorry. They get 5. Canaccord Genuity gets 160 grand cash for putting this deal together. And they get 533,000 finder's warrants at 30 cents. It's a pretty good deal if you can find it. I wouldn't think that was a very difficult deal to put together, but good for them. Now, where I see it, the company's done a lot of cleaning up on announcing things like those contracts. Did we go through that? I think I did it with you yesterday, that a lot of their contracts had 12-month, 6-month, their MOUs. And they updated the world that these things have expired, or they're operating under a month-to-month, whatever. And now Canaccord has gotten its reward. Maybe we're ever closer to the point when they can cut Canaccord loose as their exclusive investment banker. And most importantly, information can start flowing. I think a lot of things are getting cleaned up. And I still stand by, from the TELUS standpoint and the NVIDIA standpoint, that GTC conference is a deadline where they're going to want a lot of information out so they can talk about it regarding the Sovereign AI factory. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Will that also dovetail with Railtown's ability to more fully disclose whatever's holding everything up? Maybe. And so I'm optimistic you're going to see the TELUS data center start generating meaningful revenue rather than just these kind of holding place deals, which are good, but they're nothing like what's coming. I think you're going to start to see that ramp up. I think whether we see it right away or not, I think people close to the company, like analysts or NVIDIA or Microsoft, they're going to see huge ramp ups in Railtown's revenue. That's my opinion. More importantly, the analysts, whether they're inside those companies or they're retail institutional analysts, they're going to be able to start visibly projecting and counting on not only strong, as they call it, sticky uh, annual recurring revenues, but it's going to grow. They're going to see the growth rate, and it's almost all margin. And once the companies move to their business to the data center, they're not going to leave unless something really goes wrong. It's cheaper, it's green, it's Canada, and it's NVIDIA's best. And I think the analysts are going to not only see a growth in revenue, they're going to be able to say this revenue is going to be out there 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And when you present value with all their models, when you present value all of that, whatever assumptions they make, you can come up with a big number per share. And that's what I think you're going to start seeing, that starting around that, let's just say St. Patrick's Day, that conference, and just carrying on from then. And all the surprises will be to the upsides. Well, we'll see. As you know, I've been spectacularly wrong in my timing calls. I didn't make it up. I will assure you of that. I had reasons for it. But we'll see if I'm right this time. I think I am. All right. Trump's going all out. That's one thing about him. He doesn't, there's no half measures when Trump decides to do something. I don't know if that's good or bad. And, you know, I really hope that my read on it turns out to be wrong. So the U.S. consulate in Dubai is on fire after Iranian drone strike. There's a video. I'm not going to play it. Tom Tillis, a Republican, goes on a 10-minute rant, sounds like me, at Kristi Noem about January 6th, ICE operations, FEMA. I don't much like her, but it's surprising a Republican would do that. Smoothie King fires an employee who wouldn't serve a customer wearing a Trump hat. All right. Uh-oh. Marco Rubio, see, he's running for president already. Marco Rubio says United States is about to unleash Cheng on Iran. Oh, God. Makes my stomach churn. Why is the Secretary of State announcing that? Why wouldn't the head of, what do they call it now? The Department of War? I guess they warned us. Anyway, Rubio, it warns the scope and intensity of strikes will surge in coming hours and days. We don't have any ground troops. top U.S. negotiator Steve Witkoff. I'm sure he's unbiased when he goes in to negotiate on behalf of the United States. 340 million people pulled around by the nose ring for a country of what, 8 million? And half of those are probably American citizens anyway. Top U.S. negotiator Steve Witkoff says Iranian officials claim to have enough enriched uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs. Guess what? I don't trust you. But it could be. I could be wrong. U.S. Central Command releases footage of Navy-guided missile destroyers delivering unrelenting firepower amid Operation Epic Fury. Where did they come up with these names? Gulf state allies urge swift de-escalation as energy shock ripples across the globe. State Department issues Depart Now alert for Americans across Middle East as war spillover hits U.S. interests. President Trump cuts off all trade with Spain after far-left Spanish government refuses to let America use bases in their country to bomb Iran. God. It just makes me sick. I don't know. Most of you might find that I'm wrong. My brother thinks I'm wrong. But it doesn't help my stomach.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran.
Never ends. All right. Let's just check oil prices. Oil prices. Let's see. The oil price is 75 smackers. All right. Let me go through any comments. I'm not sure there's many. Silver Skyrocket. Hello, William. Hi. Red Pepperoni. Silver Skyrocket. Hello, everyone. Hi, Donna says, hello, William and all. I put my casserole in the oven. Is that a code for something? Hi, Donna. Donna says, Railtown volume low yesterday and today. Yes, I think it is. And if you put it in context of Ricky's purple support line here, I think it's very bullish. I mean, they've driven it down, of course. The market was down, but it didn't break that support. And for that matter, it hasn't broken the, I don't know which one, my eyesight. I'm not, it might not have broken that top blue line, but it certainly hasn't broken that horizontal support. And I think you're just seeing with classic pattern of higher lows, um, and this, this large swath of resistance. I might be over exaggerating it, in the sort of 40 to 46 cents range. That might be a little blockage for a few days. Who knows? Certainly, when they break out of the 200-day moving average, however high it goes, there will be a tendency to sell it down to test. That'll become the new parameter on the downside to test. But anyway, once it gets through whatever churning it needs to do here, I personally don't see these highs at 65 and 69 as providing much resistance at all. And I think you might be surprised how quickly the stock starts to move after that. The only caution is a lot of buyers, a lot of larger buyers, won't be able to buy under $1, which is all the way up here somewhere. It's off the page. But yeah, Donna, I think you're right. I don't know. I don't know if that's what you meant to say. Meant by it, but I think the low volume is bullish, is what I meant to say. Silver skyrocket. I know I should get a finder's fee, 18 million shares. Now you can't, you got to make your deal up front. You can't go back. No revisionist hearing. Did you get the check? I don't think it was a check. It came in as a wire, or maybe ACH. That's what it was. Maybe it was ACH. But yes, it's there. So on the little, on my effort to hold this gold transaction together, while my friend, who may now be my erstwhile friend, I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions. While his money comes in, I want to give strength to the company to hold off any predatory or otherwise private equity financing, and I think we'll be able to fund it if Railtown moves as quickly as I think it will. But yes, PS 71. I think I'm just trying, as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to see if I may be able to look right here. I don't know. I usually use this to look. No, I'm not going to be able to get in quickly. But yes, it came. There may be a additional wires coming in today. A lot of people are having their bank, 2 people are having their bank reject it because the bank says, never heard of me. But, the LLC I set up. But I expect PS 71 that by tomorrow, I'm going to be at approximately $75,000, depending on the arithmetic I did. And I don't know where I left my little list. I think it'll be right around 72, 73.5. And I've got about 8 people to follow up on. I'm finding a number of people just didn't get my email. also one guy, maybe two on my list. One, I think, is not going to do it. He right now, but there's about 5, 6 people that are willing to do something sort of next week, following week. So we'll get there. My goal is to get to 100,000. And I've got to meet my sister tonight for dinner, but I may call some people this evening. I'd like to call the interface, the guy in charge of the investments tonight. He's in California, and be able to tell him, look, I'm going to wire 100 grand, and hopefully the company receives that positively. There's strong interest in larger commitments, but and I can't argue with the reasoning. People want to wait on Railtown. They don't want to carve into that position too much, and I can't fault that logic. It's just that unfortunately the company saw one of my documents, so I'm not operating stealthily anymore. I don't know that it matters. I'm not trying to hide anything or do anything wrong, but my goals, as you know, are 3 things really, maybe 4. One is there was a buyer, a guy that came in about a little over a year ago, very wealthy guy. He's a friend of the the metallurgist, let's call it that. The guy that's developed the proprietary process. And he just said, look, I'll come in, I'll pay off everything, I'll build it, I'll cover the costs for 2 years. And you as shareholders don't have to do anything else, but you have to give me the leases. And in return for that, I'm going to cap the reward at $100 million, which worked out at the time to around 20 cents a share. My understanding is he's willing to go up a little bit, but not much. That's a bad deal. Bad deal. And I want to prevent that from even being a consideration. If the company runs out of money, or the people running the company get scared they're going to run out of money, they might just, give up the ghost. I don't think they are, but I want to give them some strength. So that's one reason to raise some money. Second reason is I'd really like to have the opportunity, while my friend, maybe erstwhile friend, my investor, maybe former investor, I don't know. He's a good, he's a good man. He's a honorable guy. I don't think he's gone anywhere, but just don't know quite for sure. But I'm not sure he's gotten his money distributed yet either. But I want to hold it so if he wants to come in, 2 or 3 other people that I've talked to, that we can do it, because we've been the ones there that held things together. I really don't like the idea of a 35-year-old private equity group out of New York sending their young associate to come out, and she might be able to offer a better deal, but private equity will take, if this, I'm just trying to do it in my head, if it goes to let's just pick a number, it's 4 cents a share. If this bad deal guy comes back, and by the way, his definition of how he's going to share revenue is really weak. I don't even think we can afford to write the document. So it's probably it won't happen all at once. It'll be spread out forever. Nightmare. It's just a nightmare thing. But that would probably be 40 cents a share. So that's 10x. If the company just, I don't know, just failed at what it's doing, which I don't see now, I really think they've got it. It's going to work and it's going to be great. They could probably, with gold where it is, they could probably sell the company based on brutalist technologies that are being used down at Barrick Gold and Newmont Mining. I'd say that's at least $4 a share. So that's 100x. But if they which is what I think is going to happen. And that's why I have such urgency. If they prove up there's testing, and they've done hundreds of tests. Then there's trying to, in a lab or in the creator's mind, creation of a process system. So you bring the sand, you put it there, you put one leg in, one leg out, two legs in, and shake it all about, whatever you do. And then you go step by step. And at the end, you weigh the gold. And they can do that without the pilot plant. And they can tweak it and design it. And they've got some of the equipment there. And I think they have that locked down. So now what remains is the pilot plant, which exists, but it had to be cleaned up and retrofitted and expanded. But what remains, to my memory, let me see if it's written here so I can get the quantity correct. No, it's not written here. I think what they're going to do is process 26,000 tons a day, but that number might be wrong. But whatever the amount is, they're going to do it every day for 90 days. And as they weigh the gold, the excitement's going to be high. So anyway, let's just say they sell the company at $40. It could be much, much higher than that, by the way. Hell, when I look at the resource, and if they drill deeper and outward, and it's all there, it should all be essentially the same. You could be talking about $400, but let's use our dream number at $40 a share. And I'm not saying the risk is gone. I mean, there's still risk. It all dissolves in acrimony and nightmare, but I don't think so. I think we're there. A lot of it's because of gold prices. Because a group like Barrick Gold and Newmont Mining, their joint venture used to be called Gold Strike. I think they call it now the Nevada Gold Company. That is the Carlin trend. And now they're doing other deeper digging and they're finding things. But I don't think, and I should look it up, I don't think the life of those reserves are much more than 5 to 10 years. It may be expanding as the price of gold goes up. Reserves become profitable that weren't at lower prices. But the point is, they could come by this company, our company, and just put it on the shelf, put it on the wall, put it in the presentations, and it would change their story. I mean, we talked about it the other day. This guy, Jim Rickards, he has as one of his favorite companies and he highlights it. Of course, I picked up the wrong month. He highlights it in this month's Strategic Intelligence, which you can subscribe to. But he talks about Nova Gold, which is a great company. Nova Gold, largest America's largest gold mine, waiting to happen. He's not saying it's listed as the largest gold mine, but this has been talked about for a long time. It's up in Alaska. It's called the Donlin Gold Project. And Donlin is a generational asset sitting on 39 million ounces of gold. Well, your company, which, just to read from this, discovered 6.6 million ounces of gold in its sands in 2009, 2010. Third party, but that was down to 200 feet. They did drill down to 400 feet, it's just the same, but just down to 200 feet, they found 6.6. Well, you go down to 400, you double it. But just with that, just stay with that 6.6. That's at a recovery essentially of 0.038 ounces of gold per ton. Well, what's going to be proven in this commercial process system, in my judgment, is you're going to get 0.20 or better. I heard significantly better, but let's just go with, it's big enough. We don't have to go any higher. That's 5 times that number. 5 times that number, just in that 200 feet layer, 2 sections. Well, that 5 times 6.6, that's 33 million ounces of gold, just in that part of the prospect. So when you hear that the Donlin mine is a generational asset sitting on 39 million ounces, measured and indicated, that's further along, frankly, than where we are. But we're going to be there, I think, in a matter of months, let's say by the fall. It's the same story. So you could almost say the same thing. Waiting to happen, but it's generational. And then the Donlin mine could become America's largest operating gold mine, producing 1.1 million ounces annually over a 27-year mine life. I wouldn't be surprised, if they put $250 million into a plant or $1 billion into a plant, ours could be bigger. That's a lot of projection. Let that sink in. We're talking about a domestic gold supply that dwarfs every other project in North America. Well, I just showed you, just on the 200 feet, by this process working, it's 33 million ounces versus 39. It's the same story. It's the same story. Grade is king. And their grade's not as good as this grade. But anyway, Paulson's invested in it. I think you'll see big investors there. And anyway, I don't want to. They also have more, they can grow from the 39 million to 50 million ounces. And in fact, or more. They talk here about, this is reminiscent of Franco-Nevada's legendary royalty. they got a royalty on the Carlin Trend. On Barrick's Gold Strike deposit in Nevada, what started out as a modest resource blossomed into 50 million ounces of production over the decades. And that's what ours offers that too. It's pretty darn exciting. So anyway, I got off track. PS71. It is there. I just can't show it to you because I can't get in. But I did look. It came. I think it's an ACH. So that's why you're calling it a check. But it's there. Thank you. That brings the amounts received to I can't remember the exact figure. I think it's anyway. It's essentially I just can't remember the number. Let me see if I can sign in and tell you. I don't know if I can sign in here. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe it'll do it. Maybe it'll do it easily. Now I got to put. Why isn't that working? Okay, sign in. One-time passcode. Oh, it's always a nightmare. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would have the amount is just under 50,000. So I really don't want to send less than 50. There's a couple of wires, 3 that I was expecting today, and maybe something by Thursday. So I think we'll be higher. But anyway, to give you the number, we're now at 48,757. And I think we'll get to approximately 72, 73 by Thursday. And hopefully, I've got, like I say, I've got about 8 people to call. I'd really like to get it to 100 quickly, or 120, and be able to send it. But that, doing our best. Anyway, thank you very much, PS71. Shay Viscuta, do you think Railtown can swoop in on the government AI openings due to the Anthropic prickling? I think I get the gist of your question. I don't think Railtown has to swoop because they're already there. But I appreciate what you're noticing. Apparently, Anthropic's usage went up by a great number, skyrocketed after that announcement. And OpenAI, I think, went down. So what it verifies is there's a real demand for building data centers and AI applications away from Trump and away from the CIA, away from the United States. And in that context, I think what you're going to see, not so much swooping, but I think at this GTC convention, I think NVIDIA is going to be all over it, and Anthropic's going to be all over it. I don't know who's the large language model at the NVIDIA, HPE, TELUS Sovereign Data Center, the only one in Canada. There's one sovereign AI data center in Canada ready to go using the best NVIDIA available, although it's not the most recent generation. I guess they'll roll it up to the best as it becomes available. But it's fast. It's the fastest. It's green. The electricity is the cheapest, and it's sovereign. Cohere, I think, is the logical company to use because it's Canadian, but it might be Anthropic. You never know. I doubt it'll be OpenAI. So what could happen is that Jensen talks about his sovereign AI stack and how NVIDIA, it's not only the NVIDIA chips, it's the other aspects of what they're doing. And one of the things, and then of course TELUS is also going to be talking, and they're both going to be talking about their sovereign AI data factory that's protected from Trump. And it'll be, whether or not they mention Railtown, a sophisticated institutional type investor is going to pick up the hood and look at the engine, and they're going to see that at the bottom is the data. That's the NVIDIA and the HPE and other things. And then there's the large language models. Somewhere in there is the IX Fire XI, whatever. I think it's right there, but it could be on top of the large language. I don't quite get where it is, but it's a different place in the stack than Railtown. And then you've got Railtown, then you've got the language models, then you've got the agents and the creation of what the users use. Railtown's right there. Maybe FireXI is too. But if it turns out that the demand for the TELUS data center jumps because of that Anthropic situation, and it re-heightens the Canadian campaign to get away from Trump, it's going to really ramp revenue at that data center. And then inside that data center is NVIDIA, obviously. So NVIDIA might become a buyer of all the pieces it needs for this sovereign stack to replicate it around the world. I think you're going to see NVIDIA talking about that it's more than just a chip company. But also Microsoft is there embedded in all of Railtown, or the other way around, all of Railtown's products. If they start seeing increased revenue from Railtown alignment, they might be buyers because they've got 400 some data centers around the world. I think they are the largest hyperscaler either in Canada or providing data to Canada. And yeah, you're right. I think you're going to see a lot of focus on the orchestration, the conducting, keeping the AI agents on the tracks, but doing it away from the prying eyes of the United States government. And yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's going to add, not mildly, but in a big way, to the applicability of Railtown's end-to-end suite. I think it's going to be huge. And it's starting to feel like, Shay, it's starting to feel like people need to be force fed this stuff. To me, it's starting to feel like the conference has to get started. The participants start milling around, going to the cocktail hours, going to dinner. Uh, I don't know if that generation gets in trouble late at night, but whatever late at night shenanigans, and talking about what they saw. What did you like? The early breakfast the next morning. Hey, did you see any companies you liked? Did you hear anything you liked? Well, I really like that Railtown Technologies, and or it could be as simple as what trends do you see? Well, I think the orchestration frameworks, that's where you got to put your money. Anyway, that kind of buzz might have to be force fed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at that conference. And I'm starting to feel like Railtown's not going to break to the upside until that conference gets started, during the conference. But you never know. The chart looks pretty good, and I the shorts aren't here anymore on my channel. I don't know if they're still out there really playing games in the United States. It feels like if there's a buyer or two, there's no selling. It feels like the selling's disappeared. Although I don't know about Canada. Canada still seems to have some volume. And we also don't know what they'll do as they start losing on their positions. But they may have hidden their positions offshore by now. Good. Yes, PS71. Yes, thank you again. Steve, hi, Uncle Bill and crew. Catching up now. 2x play. Well, it takes two to play. So you catch up, and then we'll play. Buckeye NPR. Seems like some consolidation yesterday and today in Railtown could be a sign some movement is upon us. And I would agree with that too. I like your point. I like Shay's point. I like Donna's point. I think that's right. The volume there. Well, in fairness, I didn't watch it all day, but the barcoding doesn't seem to be going on. That could happen. But you got 51,000 shares today. That's not. The last trade that priced this whole complex is 500 shares at just under 34 cents. So it's higher highs on the lows. Higher, how do you say it? Higher lows. That's Ricky's purple line. And we're not quite yet at higher highs on the closes. But that'll start at some point. I showed you the bit of resistance that has to be got through, and that's how the Brits say it, I think, and the 200-day moving average that needs to be punctured. And then I think there is a layer. There were a lot of people disappointed after waiting and suffering and listening to my bullshit, that in the 42 to 44, 46 range, they could have gotten out and avoided all of this disaster for the last 90 days in November. And I think some of those people might, when the stock gets back to break even, they might feel like they should sell. That's what the criminals will try to make happen by keeping pressure there maybe making it look like there's a lot of stock for sale, maybe putting some volatility in there so there people go, oh no, I'm not making that mistake again. I'm getting out at 42. I'm not going to let it go back down to 28. Those people are going to be sad afterwards if they do act on that. And I'm trying to teach you not to sell there, but the computers will try to play around there, and they have their own back and forth volume, so they can control it a bit. And people are going to be watching. We can't help it. We're going to be watching, going, oh, and just like Brandon's friend that thought he was doing the right thing by putting in a stop loss order at 25 cents for 50,000 shares. Well, they walked it down and took it from him. And it was sitting there like a fatted calf. And now it's 34 cents. He never bought back in. That was a stupid, I'm not blaming him, but because he didn't know better, but is it completely the wrong thing to do? But what did he protect himself from? But that's what other people are going to make the mistake. Well, I'm back to 44. And, screw William. He's always been wrong. He didn't know what he was talking about. He was flying blind. Whatever. And if they can spike it down for a couple of days, some people might just say, I'm getting out. That's what resistance is in charts. I hope we can avoid that here in this audience, because once it breaks through sort of 44, 45, next stop probably is those highs, 65, 70 cents. But I don't see much holding it there at all. So finally, maybe Railtown will trade like silver. For the longest time, silver was, $16, $18, got up into the 20s, pulled back to 22, maybe spiked under it, but basically stayed in the low 20s, went up to the high 20s, pulled back to the low mid 20s, punctured into the 30s, and was there for a while, but then broke down to 28. Then it rallied, it stayed there a little while, but rallied back, got into the low 40s, and people are starting to talk, but then they got it back down, and then it got into the higher 40s, but it stayed in there for a while, but then it finally broke 52.50, and it ran like a son bitch. And they did play with it, and I think that same thing will happen here. Once it breaks through, it'll go to $1, akin to $100 in silver, and then the shorts will try to hurt it. There won't be enough buying necessarily to get it above $1.20 initially, so it might be soft, but then buying will come in, because at some point the stock will be going up because of what people are hearing and seeing. And so it'll be a back and forth, a seesaw battle up to, 150, 170, pull back, goes to 2, pulls back, hangs around at 180, akin to $18, gets into 220, 250. It hangs out there, trades there, akin to $25 silver, and then it trades to $28, 280 a share, and then it punctures $3, $30 silver, gets up in the low 30s, the low $3, and there's enough power. And the traders, they get it back down to the mid 20s, the middle, like 25, 27, 28 in silver, but it's akin to 250, 260, 270 in Railtown. And then it finally does break $3 and stays there. And it goes to the 350, 380 akin to $35, $38 in silver. People are starting to hear about it, but not really. And, it might come back to the low $3, but then it gets magically one day it gets to the $42 range. And that starts getting people talking silver. Well, it gets to 420 in Railtown, people start talking it, and they have a hard time getting it back down much below $3.80. And so it trades with a little bit of volatility in the $4, 450, 460 range, but the excitement's building. Just like when silver was 42, 44, 48, the excitement's building. Why? Because can it break its all-time high? 52.50, and it did. Well, I think that's going to happen with Railtown. As the excitement builds, research will come out, people will be talking, and it breaks $5. All of a sudden, it's above the Merrill Lynch rule. And then people in their Merrill Lynch account, in their Morgan Stanley account, in their wealth advisor accounts, their advisors can say, okay, you can buy it at $5, and then institutions can buy it, and then research will come out, and there'll be campaigns, so it'll break $50, $52.50. It'll break $5, $5.25, and everyone will be saying that missed it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to get in it if it comes back to 33.80, but it won't. All of a sudden, that breaking $5, a flood of buyers can come in because the Merrill Lynch rule is gone. And it's away from the cheaters who have all the rules on their side. And you could see it go from $52 to 60 to 70 to 80 to 90, hit 100, and it's on the front pages everywhere like silver did. You can see the same thing in Railtown. It goes from, let's say 520, and it starts climbing, it breaks 550, and then all of a sudden, buzz, 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 talk, talk, talk. Everyone's talking about it, even Tony the timid tiger, and it gets to $10 or $12, akin to $100, $120 in silver. And you saw how they can drive it down in silver, and that's, you got to face it. There could be volatility. But just like silver, I think silver is going to $1,000. I think that's not even a target. That's just a stopping place. I think silver, my opinion, silver at one point in this coming period of time, silver will go 1-to-1 with gold. 1-to-1. I think it'll overshoot it. It'll become more valuable than gold. That's going to be the extreme of the cycle, and you're going to have to fight your emotions, and you're going to have to get out and go buy, apartment buildings in the Bronx, and which are probably valuable. Go buy oil wells that are cash flowing. Go buy the resort that Genius Brands will go bankrupt and lose. No, I don't know. That's just a projection. I had no idea if that'll happen. Yeah. So anyway, Buckeye, I agree with you. I think the next move's up, and it's gonna get exciting over the next month, and it could happen at any time. But anyway, it's 5:12. I'll try to go to 5:15 in case somebody wants to hammer me. Let's see if there's any news. I've got to get ready to go see my sister. So I'll. Oh, it's not that he got killed. Iran's new supreme leader is named as Ali Khamenei's son, Motaba, so it's going to be the same name. Um, he's young. I wonder if he can get along with MBS. Maybe they can forge a new world. Oh God. See, look, I'm not making fun of God or um, the Bible, but Donald Trump's commanders. I don't know if this is written by Ross Ibbotson and Elena Shirazi. Donald Trump's commanders have been accused of telling troops that the war with Iran is part of God's plan for Armageddon. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation, nonprofit civil rights watchdog, said it has received 110 complaints from troops since the war broke out on Saturday. 40 different units, 30 different sites. A non-commissioned officer wrote Monday that his combat unit commander had claimed Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. He urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. That's the problem with Zionism, Christian Zionism. And in that context, why not lob a few missiles to really turn it into hell on earth? I don't know. I don't know why I'm so nervous and scared. It just makes my stomach really queasy. All right. Nobody texted, so I'm going to leave it there. I pray for peace in the world, and I pray for peace with each of you. And it's been a good week, believe it or not, for Railtown, given that the market's been so under stress. And I really don't think we have much more than a fortnight to wait. So we'll see. We'll talk tomorrow. Cheers.